Thank you for joining us for our webinar today, Cloud Hosted Virtual Directory, presented by Michael Brings. I'll just introduce Mike real quick here. Mike has over 20 years of experience in the software industry and has been deploying identity management solutions since joining Open Network Technologies in 2000, and later then with Oblix, which was acquired by Oracle. Mike is a recognized identity management expert and has been a guest speaker at many industry events. He's currently Chief Revenue Officer and Managing Partner with Optimal IdM. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well. Thanks. Thanks for the intro. And we'll kind of get started. First thing, I think we've got this blocked off for an hour, but it's not going to be an hour. It's a little bit shorter than that. And what we're discussing is the world's first really cloud-hosted virtual directory. So with that, we'll kind of get things started. So a little bit about us, in case you're not familiar with us. We were founded in 2005, 100% organically grown, so no outside investment, no debt. We've been profitable every year of existence, so kind of a little bit of old school, no VC money. Our solutions are deployed on 6 continents across the globe. Many of our customers are large multinational companies where they're operating across the globe. We're headquartered in Tampa, but we have offices in Indianapolis, Denver, and Melbourne, Australia as well. On the right side, you can kind of see some of the market endorsements. So we've been in multiple analysts' reports, such as Gartner, upcoming in Forrester, as well as Kuppinger-Cole, a leader quadrant there for that. We've also won numerous awards, which you can kind of see. So first, let's kind of talk about what a virtual directory is first, just in case you're not familiar. But the virtual directory, ours is called Virtual Identity Server, or VIS. The best way to think about it, I think, is a proxy server, right? So we're providing a real-time proxy of multiple data repositories. So with the proxy, we're not storing any of the data within VIS. We're not synchronizing the data. We're proxying it down to the source. So when an application's connecting to VIS, we're gonna, and it does a search, we're then gonna turn around and do a search to whatever we're connected to. Multiple Active Directory forests, database, it can come from anywhere. Azure as well. So we have connectors to every LDAP directory out there, databases. We also support generic ODBC. So the data really can come from anywhere. This was actually developed back in 2007, so very rock solid product. It's been out there for well over a decade. So very stable solution. We are in some of the largest companies in the world. And you would say, well, why some of the largest? Well, it's kind of some of the reasons for a virtual directory. One of the common uses, and the most common, is there are many applications out on the market that are not multi-forest aware. And so what I mean by that is take Cisco Unity Voicemail. That product can only talk to one Active Directory forest. And there are a lot of customers that have multiple Active Directory forests. Give you an example for like one state agency that uses our solution. They have a forest for every department. So Department of Motor Vehicles, Department of Revenue. And that's great because they want to kind of have their own centralized authentication and authorization within that department. But when they want to deploy something like Cisco Unity Voicemail, they want it to go to all those agencies. So with that, you enter VIS. You point Cisco to VIS. VIS is connected to I think they've got 25 or 30 forests. And now Cisco instantly thinks it's talking to one forest, but in reality, it's proxying, getting proxy down to 30 Active Directory forests. Some of our customers operate a forest for every country they operate in. So they have literally over 100 Active Directory forests. VIS can do that without any caching, no synchronization needed, and provides a seamless approach. And most of those customers have multiple applications that are hooked up to VIS. Something else that we can do, we can also combine and join data from other data sources, such as a database. So maybe you have information that's in an HR database, and you don't want to synchronize that and put it into Active Directory, extend the schema. We can pull that data live and merge it with the data that's in AD, making it appear that it came just from AD. So that's a common use case. Another thing, additional security control. You can lock down what applications can perform. I've got LDAP proxy firewall there. The scenario there is there's other products like take Cisco IronPort, that's the cloud-based version. That needs to connect into your Active Directory forest and authenticate users and also look up groups for distribution lists. Well, you don't want Cisco seeing everything within your forest, so we can lock that down and only display the information that it needs, like users and groups. It doesn't need to see your computer accounts, your foreign security principals, everything like that. We just filter that data out and only let it see users and groups. So additional security and control there. With that, you can do the data transformation and filtering as well. So very important details. You also, with Viz, get consistent auditing and logging across all applications. Those applications may have audit logging, but not in a common, consistent format. With Viz, you get that for all those applications that are connected. So those were just some of the reasons, but we actually have a white paper up on our website that covers 101 uses for a virtual directory. I did that at a conference one year, many years ago, but it's still very pertinent to today. So check out our website and look for the 101 uses for a virtual directory. These are some from Gartner as well, just kind of showing their hype cycle. This was back in 2013, or actually this one's 12. And you can see where virtual directories are on that slope of enlightenment, and then it moved further the next year. So now it's really into the plateau of productivity a few years later down. So I'm going to kind of sidetrack for just a second and mention, if you're not familiar, with the Optimal Cloud. So what the Optimal Cloud is, it's our cloud-based version of Federation Single Sign-On. We've had this out for many, many years, and it's also has in, if you look in the lower right, so beyond single sign-on, federation, and multi-factor, adaptive auth, we also did embed the virtual directory in there. And I'd say one of the common reasons for that is one, we wanted to connect back into the Active Directory forest of the customer, or forests, if they have multiple, but also can connect out to Azure. So if a common scenario is, yeah, I want to authenticate my employees on-prem to Active Directory, but we actually have our partners or suppliers or external customers in Azure. Well, we can easily connect out to Azure as well and do the authentication out there. So with that baked in, we kind of had the next logical step, which we'll see here in a minute. But real quick in terms of differentiators, obviously there's other cloud single sign-on vendors out there. Where are we different? The first one really is the private dedicated tenant. So other customers, or other vendors rather, they've been hacked. One, it's also a public pooled where multiple customers are all in the same tenant. It's actually the vendor that in particular got hacked. That's spread across all of their customers, and every customer had to change a certificate across that. That wouldn't be the case with us. We have private dedicated servers for each of our customers. The fully managed complete concierge service. So with other services, you still have to have an admin come in and do it. With us, we do all the configurations, maintenance, monitoring, etc. We do everything for you. As well, it's an extensible enterprise solution that's really built for the Fortune 500. So with other platforms, you kind of have to adapt your business model to their product. With us, it's the reverse. We'll adapt our product to meet your business requirements. So pretty unique, excuse me, within the industry on that. So we actually operate, and you'll see here just why that's important, the largest federation deployment in the world. This customer is a large global multinational. We have data centers on 4 continents across the globe. We have over 200 identity providers. We total population of users is greater than 500,000, so greater than 500,000 users. Within that, we have 4 levels of authentication that we perform. This is actually outdated. They're at about 9,000 federated applications right now. So we deploy for them on average about 100 to 200 apps a month, every month. And the authentications, we're doing over 100 million authentications a month for that vendor. So very large scale. In terms of architecture, often what we would do is create a VPN. So out in the Optimal Cloud there, we would create a VPN back to the customer's environment so that Viz could connect to the AD forests. So with that, it was kind of a logical next step that as we sold into customers where they weren't buying the Optimal Cloud, but they were buying Viz, to offer that as a hosted solution. So, rather than, which it would classically be an on-prem deployment of Viz, with the advent of Azure and Amazon, and most customers have a footprint in either of those, or sometimes both, where they're starting to put the customer themselves, other servers, whether it's a SQL server, they're spinning it up out in Azure rather than doing an on-prem server, and they VPN those back in. So customers are very familiar with that and comfortable with that. So we started offering that to potential prospects as they were looking at the VIS solution, and it went quite well. Had several customers that have chosen that option. We'll get to the customer examples here in just a bit as well. So I think first you kind of want to cover what is a cloud-hosted virtual directory? Well, simply put, it's us hosting Viz for you. So again, rather than you hosting on-prem servers, hooking it up to load balancers for high availability failover, we host it out in Azure for you. We can host in Azure, Amazon, Google, whatever data center you would like us to host that in. Now, our typical preference is Azure, but again, we can do any platform that you want. Some customers also want us to, like have 4 nines or 5 nines on high availability. We would probably put them across 2 different services, meaning like Azure and Amazon, just to make sure that you have it up. Say there was a complete Azure-wide outage, that would all go over to Amazon then. Doubt that would happen, but you can do that. It all really goes to what level of SLAs do you want. So as I mentioned, we've been doing this for a while, but we actually formally announced that via a press release today that we're the world's first hosted virtual directory. And I don't know, for existing customers that are familiar with us, you might notice too in this PowerPoint deck, we also have debuted a new logo. So a little bit has changed since 2005, so we kind of did a refresh on our logo as well. But the cloud-hosted virtual directory, it's just like the Optimal Cloud. It's a fully managed, complete concierge service. So just like the Optimal Cloud, we're going to do everything for you. There's nothing for you to do. So that's configuration, as we'll get to. So it also comes with cloud-based reports. So Viz writes to a database out in the cloud, of course. We provide those reports. You can kind of see some sample reports here. You can drill in. You can get detailed information. They can be filtered, exported. We can also provide the raw files. So a lot of organizations say that's great and we like the reports, but we do have a requirement to use our internal Splunk and have all that there for security. So we can provide those raw files that you could import into your Splunk as well. So what are some of the reasons for having a hosted virtual directory service? First one, there's no need to manage, configure, or maintain anything. Literally 100% is done by us. The only thing you really need to do is tell us what you want to connect up to and what you want the applications to see. We do all the configuration. So it's pretty easy to understand. One, you get automatic and regular updates. And I can't stress this one enough. We actually have several enterprise customers that are running a version many years old, and in fact, haven't upgraded anything on the servers. So one customer, and we'll leave their names out, hasn't updated Windows itself with Windows updates. The other customer, also running an older version of this, they've updated the Windows updates, but they haven't updated our product. Well, we do rely on the .NET framework, so you kind of fall into an area where you need to make sure that you're updating the latest versions of our product as the .NET upgrades happen on your servers too. So you really don't want to lock those servers. You do want to periodically do updates to that. And if you choose the cloud-hosted solution, you don't have to worry about it. We take care of it. Now, of course, we do backups before we do that, and that's another thing, another benefit here. Actually, I don't have a bullet on that, but we do all the backups for you. We also will take a snapshot and we stage those in terms of the upgrade, right? So we're not going to do all 4 servers if we're hosting 4 servers for you all at once. You can also have multiple environments, so a production, dev, QA. You can have each of those. But another benefit here is you can eliminate the knowledge loss due to staff turnover, right? So you have two people that are mainly handling Viz, and one leaves. Well, that knowledge just left the organization as well. So now you have to ramp up and staff somebody else on that. You go to the cloud, you don't have to worry about that again. We're going to handle everything for you. Automatic scalability, right? So we can easily spin up another server if you need to. We also use the elasticity features of Azure if you need it. We actually have an example. Now, this was on the Optimal Cloud, but the same applies to Viz. One of our customers is a state unemployment agency within the United States here. Well, as you can imagine, with the coronavirus, they thankfully were one of the customers. Because they were on our platform, they didn't crash. Many state websites crashed, including the state of Florida, where I am. Well, this agency, obviously, so we do self-registrations. So when a person in that state needs to file for unemployment, they fill out a self-registration, create an account. It's within a directory we host for them. We saw, obviously, spikes, huge spikes. They would typically have like 100 in a month, and it quickly went to 8,000, 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 a day. They quickly were spiking. We just spun up new servers. I think we have like 8 servers now for them. We used to have 2 just for high availability. Actually, I think we have 10 now. But they had no outages. They were extremely happy with how quickly we could scale to meet their needs. Obviously, we were monitoring, just like we monitor everybody, but we were monitoring those servers and seeing those spikes on the self-registration, and immediately created the elasticity for them. So that's just a real good example. They didn't have to worry about anything. We just did it completely for them. So some other reasons, like I mentioned there, the monitoring, that's done by us. So you don't have to have any tools. You don't have to have your staff monitoring anything. We'll do everything for you there to make sure that we're meeting that SLA that we guarantee. We do also bake into the contract service level agreements with a penalty if we don't meet those SLAs. We've never had to pay a penalty. We've always been able to meet our SLAs with our customers, and typically that's 3 nines or 4 nines in the contract. You can also reduce costs by eliminating servers and the internal management costs, right? So there's cost of the servers, but there's also backup and recovery costs. There's data server charges just for running it in your data center. The internal management costs of staff to manage and maintain that. Those all just completely go away. You don't have to worry about them. And, of course, there's, obviously you've got great staff, and many of our customers, have really, really talented folks that are doing it. But you also have now the peace of mind. The vendor. Certainly, we know our product better than anybody could. So you just have a little bit of extra peace of mind knowing that. And obviously, we've been doing cloud hosting for many, many, many years. So it's not something new. We can also adjust with varying VPN speeds. So depending upon your needs, so Azure in particular, they all do this. There's certain VPNs. You can have a basic one, and then you can up the speed of the VPN, and it can be tiered. Typically what we do is try that out in a test environment, figure out rough what VPN we need, and then go from there. But we can scale that up as needed to meet needs as well. So what I thought would be maybe kind of cover just a couple of customer examples that have chosen the cloud hosted. So one was a new university here in the United States. They came to us with their scenario. And they had 3 forests across 3 different campuses that they have. Saw Viz, looked at that and said, this could solve our problem for our applications that aren't multi-forest aware. We offered them the ability, they could do it on-prem or we could cloud host it. They said, geez, it was for them. They said the product seems super easy to install and configure, so we don't think it's really a problem. But geez, to have the benefit of not having to worry about managing, maintaining, updating, and just have that go to you all, it was compelling for them. So, excuse me, they went down that line. We're in deployment with them right now. So they're just telling us which forest to connect to, giving us credentials into the forest. We're creating the connections and then hooking the applications up to Viz. We also now have an existing customer, a large healthcare customer, that's planning on putting this into their 2021 budget, because it's a pretty large deployment, as you're going to see here in a second. So just not having to worry about managing this ever growing. And actually, they just did a merger and acquisition of another company. So now that even grew further, right? So for them, not having to worry about scale is huge, and management. So they actually have a very large Viz deployment, 20 production servers, 25 non-production servers. That's a very large, because we do some pretty large Viz deployments, and I have to say that's one of the larger ones that we have. So that's a lot of servers to manage, maintain, cost. Being able to push that out to us is pretty compelling. Unfortunately, they also lost one of their employees that recently resigned that was managing Viz and knew it. So that was that staff bullet that we had there about losing that when somebody leaves the organization. So I thought that was there. Logical question, what does this cost? Short answer is it does vary, right? So that university there that has 2 Viz servers across 3 campuses is paying a lot less than the large healthcare customer would with 45 servers total. So certainly there, it's really based on the deployment footprint. Also, how many data centers do we need to be in? We always have a minimum of 2 data centers just to make sure that you have high availability across the data centers. But if you're a large multinational company and we're across the globe with many data centers, obviously cost is going to go up there as well. So it does vary. Please feel free to reach out to us. We can get you a custom quote for there. It is a subscription license, right? So we're going to do this either quarterly or annually. It's fine. We do provide a little bit of a discount if you go annually. Most, well, it's kind of split, but a lot of our customers say, it's easier just to pay this annually rather than to deal with quarterly billing. We're very flexible there, either quarterly or annually. So baked into the fee, there's no additional support and maintenance. That's all kind of baked into the subscription license where we're hosting, managing, maintaining everything for you. So that's included with the fee. So if you're an existing customer and you're looking at this and saying, hey, I think I might want to get a quote for that and move to the cloud and have you guys do it, you do get a prorated fee credited back. So say if you just renewed your Viz support and maintenance and then you come aboard, we'll credit that back on the invoice so that you're not double paying. So that's certainly an option there. Well, that's the end of the presentation itself. As I said, I was going to give you a little bit of your time back. So not a full hour, about a half hour. And I'll hand it back to Matt if there's any questions, and then he can kind of shuffle the questions over to me.